the next President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you, everybody. It is great to be in North Carolina. It's really a special place. I love it. Really an amazing place. And, you know, we had a great primary victory here. And I'll tell you what, it's been a wonderful experience. We've been touring the state all day. I hear we're leading in the polls in North Carolina. And come November 8th, we are going to win this state, and we are going to win back the White House. And when we do that, we are going to bring our jobs back to North Carolina. That I can tell you. And we are going to have a great victory for the people. It's going to be for the people. So we have to, and we don't have any choice, replace a very failed and very corrupt establishment with a new government that serves you, your family, and your country. And that's going to happen. Hillary Clinton represents insiders. She represents the donors, the politicians, the big banks, the multinational corporations, and everybody getting rich off a very rigged system, and we know that. She represents everyone responsible for the decades-long squeezing of the middle class. The middle class in this country has been treated so unfairly as jobs and wealth move to other countries like Mexico and plenty of others. Hillary Clinton is the chief emissary for globalism. And I'm not running to be president of the world. I'm running to be president of the United States. Running to represent America and America first, and America is going to come first from now on. It's no longer going to be in second position. Hillary Clinton is the vessel for all of the global special interests seeking to run our government and our lives, and it's not going to happen anymore. And what we've done is we've created a movement all over the country. It's like this. Look at these crowds. Look at the people outside, the thousands of people outside. Look at what's going on. All over the country, we've created a movement. And the people we are going to do and what we have done for the people, people are energized now like they've never seen before. I think we're doing records, it's called, in energy, as opposed to some of my opponents. And all of the people pushing the disastrous trade deals, all of these people, they're making a fortune in Washington pushing trade deals that take jobs away from North Carolina and all these states. Those days are over. The jobs are coming back. All of the people, they're just pushing everything, but all of the people, they keep digging and digging and digging us into a hole. And I'll tell you, open borders, we're going to end. You see what's happening with our open borders. That's all going to end. The people trying to rig our financial system and our economy are the people giving their money to Hillary Clinton. Our campaign is about breaking up this special interest monopoly. I understand special interest, believe me. We are going to break up the monopoly of the donor and the special interest. We're trying to disrupt the collusion between the wealthy donors, the large corporations, and the media executives, all of whom want to keep things exactly as they are right now. Good system. And we know it's a rigged system. All you have to do is ask Bernie Sanders, and you'll see, with his superdelegates. Oh, they did a number on Bernie. They did a number. And they're trying to game. You know, we have a little debate coming up very shortly, right? Right? So we had sort of a forum the other night, and that worked out very well. And Matt Lauer did a very good job. But by trying to hit Matt, they're trying to game the system, like game the ref. But I think Lester Holt will be very fair. But a lot of people are going to be watching to see if that's true. The reason why so many corporate newspapers and news anchors are opposed to our movement is the same reason why the lobbyists and the donors are opposed to the movement. Hello? See, now here's the problem. So I wouldn't pay the mic guy, right? The mic just shot. That was a weird sound, wasn't it? So I wouldn't pay the mic guy, and they'll say, isn't that terrible? He didn't pay his bills. When people don't do a good job for me, I don't pay them. It's one of those things. I don't know. My father taught me that a long time ago, and probably your parents taught you that too. Anyway, they're all part of the same political system. So they go to the same restaurants. They go to the same conferences. They have the same friends and connections. They write checks to the same think tanks and produce exactly the same reports. It's a gravy train, and it just keeps flowing. On November 8th, that special interest gravy train is coming to a very abrupt end. The insiders in Washington and Wall Street look down at the hardworking people like you, like so many people in this state, like so many people in this country. But you're the backbone of the country. And I understand that. And you understand that. You are the people that make the country run. You are the heart and soul of the nation, and you don't ever, ever, ever forget it. Don't ever forget it, folks. Hillary Clinton lifted the veil on this whole corrupt scheme when she called you deplorable and irredeemable. These insiders, the political elites, as they say, you see it, okay? You see it. They're supposed to be okay. Believe me, I like what we have together. What we have together is special. What we have together has never been together before like it is right now in this nation's history. And when we have rallies like this, I have to say, we have rallies like this, and we have 7, 8, 9, 10,000 routinely. Those are like the smaller crowds. We were in Pensacola the other day. No matter where we go. And Hillary goes out for rallies, and yesterday I think she had 200 people. She had 200 people, maybe 300. I'll say 300 because they'll say I was wrong. What we have, folks, is something special. That's why on November 8th you have to get out and you have to vote. But that's also why on October 20th I believe you can go early and you can do your ballots, and you have to do it. And you have to get all your friends out, because if we win North Carolina, we're up in Florida, we're up in Ohio, we win North Carolina, we're winning. We're going to win. We're going to win. So October 20th. Clinton doesn't see you as people to serve, but subjects to rule over. Hello? Oh. Is that friend or foe? Is that friend? Her friends see you as people who aren't entitled to run this country or this government. And that's what they see. They don't want you or your family to have a voice. That's why I'm running. I am your voice. I promise I will be the greatest voice you've ever had. We'll bring our government back to the people. We'll break up the donor media industrial complex, because there is nothing so dishonest as our media. And not everybody. Not everybody. Honestly, not everybody. But a large portion of it. And it's very, very unfair. And it's bled this country dry. And that's given us all of the problems, combinations of different groups, all of the problems that we have today. Hillary Clinton is the last line of defense for a failed political establishment, believe me. And she does not have you at heart. All of their money, all of their hopes for another generation, a corruption, all of the corruption, the tremendous corruption, that's what we have vested in her. Now, I will say, we have just gotten some reports, and we're getting these phenomenal poll numbers, and they're saying that our expenditures on advertising, our expenditures on people, our expenditures on everything are a tiny fraction, and yet we're minimum tied, and we might probably actually be winning, spending a tiny fraction. Spending a tiny fraction. Now, in the old days, and for the business people here, of which we have many, if you spent less, had fewer people, did less advertising, and in one state, I think they said we did 1/50th, spent less advertising, and we're winning. They used to give you credit for that. In our country right now, with this politics, they say, well, you should have more people, you should spend more money. And I'm saying to myself, it doesn't work that way. If you can spend less and be winning, that's the person you want as your president, I think. The Clinton campaign exists for one reason, and that's to continue rigging. And look, you know what's going on. You know what's going on. It's rigging the system, just like she rigged the system for her donors when she was Secretary of State. What happened? What happened when she was Secretary was a total disgrace. So her conduct as Secretary of State, giving all of these special favors, was something like we have never seen in this country before. And then you can take a look at emails. You can take a look at all of the things that happened, all of the money that was made, all of the disgraceful conduct. It's really Exhibit A against our truly, and I can't say corrupt system, because it's not a totally corrupt system. It's a system that's out of control. It's a system, it's just off kilter. We're going to put it back into kilter, folks. We're going to make America great again. We're going to make it great. We're going to make America great again. Now, I have to tell you a couple of things, because this is a group that likes jobs, right? We can talk about Hillary Clinton for hours. We can talk about the rig system. We can talk about the 33,000 emails that were deleted. We can talk about all of the problems that our country's had. You look at her with Libya. You look at her with all of the different things. Look at ISIS. ISIS was formed in the vacuum that she and Barack Obama created. They created this vacuum, and ISIS was formed. Now she's telling us how to get rid of ISIS, right? I don't think so. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but over the last number of years, she's wanted 550% more Syrian refugees to come into the United States. 2 days ago, President Obama said, and very strongly said, that he wants 120,000, some vast number, 120,000, to come in to the United States. Look at the problems we're having now. Look at the problems that the world is having now. Look at what's going on. We can't allow it to happen. We can't allow it to happen. And it's not going to happen. Now, what is going to happen? What is going to happen, and this is so important, and I just think it's one of those things that we're going to see because it's politics. Hillary is all of a sudden going to get tough. The debate comes and she'll say, I want strong borders. I believe she mentioned the term extreme vetting. Where did you hear extreme vetting before? Only from me. Because I made up the term. I mean, I came up. I said, we need extreme vetting to come into our country. All of a sudden, she's got extreme vetting, and she's got all of these terms. Folks, it's not going to happen. And the reason it's not going to happen is because there's special interest donors. They like it when our businesses move out because they own businesses. They move to Mexico. Lots of advantages for them to do that. No advantage for our country. No advantage for our jobs. So I'll give you a couple of examples, and I think it's horrible. Ford Motor Company just announced that they're moving their small car division. Anybody hear this? To Mexico. Unbelievable numbers of jobs, tremendous numbers of jobs, and we're not going to let it happen. We're not going to let this. We lost, in North Carolina, you lost 44% of your manufacturing. NAFTA has been a disaster for North Carolina. NAFTA has been a disaster for this country. You go to Pennsylvania, you go to Ohio, you go to all of these states, you go to New York State, you go to New England. Look at what's happened to our country. We're not going to let it happen any longer. We're not going to let them take our businesses any longer, these corrupt politicians. We're not going to let them take our businesses any longer. It's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. We won't let it happen. Now, we have a tremendous problem with immigration, but we have a tremendous problem with job loss. And we have a real problem with good jobs because we're keeping jobs, they're bad jobs. They're considered, we're losing our good jobs. So a couple of examples. You remember what happened in Indiana recently with Carrier Air Conditioning, right? They fired all their employees. They said, we're moving to Mexico. Congratulations. It was captured, this firing, on somebody's beautiful cell phone. A great thing. Because if I didn't see it on the cell phone, it wouldn't have meant that much. And if other people didn't, and it happened to be just before my primary in Indiana, which I won in a landslide largely because of Carrier. So what happened? What happened is they let their employees go. They're going to move to Mexico. Tremendous, I tell you what, tremendous advantages were given to Carrier to stay. But they decided to fire 1,400 people and go to Mexico. They're building a brand new plant, and I wish them well. But here's the story, folks. This could have been stopped years ago. The politicians didn't either understand it, or if they did understand it, they certainly didn't want to do it. I actually think it's a combination of both. But what's going to happen is the following. If we had somebody, I would love to do it myself, but I'm not sure if presidents are supposed to call up the head of an air conditioning company and explain to him why why they're not going to do that. But I'll tell you what, we are going to tell them in the nicest of language, Mr. President of Carrier, I'm sorry. If you think you're going to leave Indiana, Indianapolis to be exact, fire all these people, get rid of everybody, we have no income, no taxes, no nothing, you're going to move to Mexico into a brand new plant, you're going to make product, you're going to make your air conditioners, sell them through our very strong border, because, by the way, we will build the wall, we will have... No, we're building the wall. We're going to have a very, very strong border. Who's going to pay for the wall? Do you even have a doubt? No, do you have even a doubt? So what we're going to do is we're going to tell Carrier, and everybody, I hate to use Carrier only as, but they're a perfect example. They make air conditioners, good air conditioners. I used to buy them. I won't buy them anymore. But I may never buy an air conditioner again if I win. Okay? If I lose, I may be buying them a lot, but I don't know. This is much more exciting than the real estate business, to be honest with you. But we're going to tell them that, look, if you move, we are going to charge you 35% every time you make an air conditioner and think you're going to sell it back into our country. Okay? 35%. And I'll tell you what will happen every single time, like 98%. 98%, they're going to say, well, let's go get a lobbyist. Now, I'm putting up my own money, and I'm into this thing for a lot of money, folks. Okay? I'm putting up my own money. I don't know if it's ever happened. I guess Ross Perot put up his money. But I'm putting up my money. I'm raising money from the small donors and some larger donors going to the Republican Party, the RNC, Reince Priebus, who's, by the way, doing a great job. But we're raising money for the Republican Party, but I am putting up millions and millions and millions of dollars. So if you don't go out and vote, I'm going to feel very, very foolish, I'll tell you. I'm going to say, one of the pundits said, it doesn't matter whether he wins or loses. What he's done has been amazing. It's never been done before. And you know what I say to that? If I lose, I wasted a lot of time, energy, and money. That's the way I look at it. I don't view it the way they look at it. And I will say it has been an amazing experience. But here's what's going to happen. We're going to say to them, and I have the greatest business people in the world backing me, Carl Icahn, so many different business people. And we have to use our great business people. We have to use our great negotiators on trade. And they'll say, look, here's the story. If you move, Mr. Carrier, if you move, it's fine. Enjoy your new plant. The weather's hot, but that's okay. Enjoy the new plant. But if you move, there's going to be this tax. They're not going to move, folks. They're not going to move. They're going to say, well, we're going to stay. Now, they'll stay in Indiana. They may come to North Carolina. All of that stuff is fine, right? But they're not leaving our country so easily. We can't continue to be the suckers that allow thousands of companies, millions of jobs to be lost by moving their manufacturing plants and factories to other countries. We can't do it. We can't do it. We cannot do it. So one of two things is going to happen. Either they're not moving, they're staying in Indiana or the United States. And this goes for many, many companies. There are many companies right now in North Carolina that are talking about moving to Mexico and other places. I hate to tell you, you have a job. You think you have a good job. You better get back immediately. Stop listening to this. The fact is, you have companies right now where you work that are negotiating to move out of North Carolina, okay? They're negotiating to move out of different states. And our politicians do nothing about it. And the reason is, two reasons. Number one, they're not very smart. Number two, a lot of times, they're taken care of by donors and special interests that want them to move out. They have reason to have them move out, especially when you can make your product and sell it into the United States with no tax, no nothing. So either they're going to stay, which most of them will because the numbers don't work anymore when they have to pay that tax, or they're going to leave and we're going to make a fortune every time they sell something into this country. So it's okay. I don't care. But we're not going to have it any longer where our companies fire everybody, move to Mexico and other places, and then after all of that work, we end up with unemployment and nothing. Okay? And they end up with great jobs, great factories. A friend of mine, and you might have heard me say this, but it happened a month and a half ago. He's one of the biggest in the world at building plants. He builds plants, big car plants, big all kind of plants. That's all he builds. If you told him build an apartment house, he wouldn't maybe know how to do it, but he builds great plants. And I said to him, how's business? Unbelievable. Really, that's good. How is it? I mean, the United States, no, not good here. I said, what do you mean not good here? He said, you got to see Mexico. We're building plants. He said to me, Mexico is the 8th wonder of the world. It's going to be the car capital of the world. Michigan is getting killed. Ohio is getting killed. A lot of states are getting killed, including, by the way, North Carolina. They're getting killed. Your jobs are being moved. Your companies are moved down to Mexico and to other places. But Mexico in particular. China is a disaster. We have a trade deficit with China, $500 billion a year, trade deficit. By the way, our trade deficit with Mexico is also massive. It's massive. But we have a $500 billion trade deficit with China. And let me tell you something, that's not going to happen with me. It's a two-way street. We got to remember, it's not a one-way street. You know, when Boeing goes and wants to sell planes to China, they make them build plants. And after those plants, and I told this to the people in South Carolina who I love, but they have a big Boeing complex. But they're now building a big Boeing complex in China. When that complex is built and they start devaluing their currency and they start playing around because they're currency manipulators like nobody that's ever been there, even better than Japan in their prime, and they start selling airplanes at prices that this country can't compete with, I'll tell you what, you got to be careful. But that's what's happening right now. When Boeing made their deal with China, China took their intellectual property. They took so much. And if they didn't take it, it wouldn't matter because they steal intellectual property. So I'm just saying this. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. And Hillary Clinton doesn't have a clue. Not even a clue. Now, when it comes to the border, and some of you have heard it and some of you haven't, who has heard the snake? How many people? Raise your hands. Not too many. So that's maybe 10%. Should I do it or should I not do it? Huh? Yes? All right, I'm going to do it. I'll tell you what. To me, I love it because it's so descriptive, not complex at all, but it's so totally descriptive. We need strong borders. We can't have people coming into this country who don't love our people and love our country. That's all. And we want people to come into our country. We really do. We want them to come into our country, but they have to come in through a system and they have to come in legally. Right now, they're pouring across the borders. You know, I was endorsed by the Border Patrol agents, 16,500 agents. They've never endorsed a presidential candidate before, ever. They've never endorsed a presidential candidate. They endorsed me. I consider it a great honor. These are great people that want to have a strong border. They're told to stand back. Let people come in. Stand back. We don't know what we're doing. And then to have the Syrians come in, who just today it was said they really can't be vetted. And I don't know if anyone saw, I think it was 868 people. Did you see that? They were scheduled for deportation, and instead of being deported, I don't know if they pressed the wrong button or was there something dishonest going on, one or the other. So instead of being deported, they became citizens of the United States. Almost 1,000 people. That's yesterday. They sort of hit the jackpot, didn't they? They're going to be deported. Something happened, and they became citizens of the United States. Folks, this could be the great Trojan horse. We have people coming into our country. We have no idea. They're coming in from the Middle East. We have no idea who they are. I use the term extreme. I made it up. Now Hillary is copying it. But we need extreme vetting. But we don't need anybody until we find out what's going on from these regions of the world. And we want to help, and we want to build safe zones, and we want to have other people pay for the safe zones. Because right now, we have $20 trillion worth of debt. It's going to be very destructive unless somebody very, very good and very, very smart and knows what he, in this case I have to say he, there's two of us, is doing. But I will tell you, President Obama has doubled the national debt. So over 200 years of debt, and in 7.5 years he's doubled it. Think of it. So we have almost $20 trillion. So we're going to get Gulf states who are loaded up with money. We're going to get the Gulf states to pay for safe zones. We'll lead the project. Like it's called OPM. I do that all the time in business, called other people's money. There's nothing like doing things with other people's money because it takes the risk. You get a good chunk of it and it takes the risk. We're going to do this, in this case, from a humanitarian standpoint. OPM, other people's money. We'll do safe zones. But we cannot have these people come into the United States. We don't know who they are. We know nothing about them. You saw what happened 2 days ago. We cannot continue these policies. We have enough problems in our country. Look at what happened to Germany. Look at what's happening in France. We cannot allow this to happen. Hillary Clinton wants open borders. She wants people to pour in. Barack Obama just approved over 100,000 people 3 days ago to come into this country from Syria. We can't do this, folks. We're not going to have a country left, okay? And think about that. And then I'm going to read The Snake. Al Wilson. Years ago, he wrote it. It's actually a song. Pretty cool song. But the words for what I'm talking about, because we don't know what we're doing, but actually if you sit down and think about it, we know what's going to happen. And this is what's going to happen if we keep allowing these open borders and if we keep taking in tens of thousands of people that we frankly know nothing about. And your law enforcement will tell you that they know nothing and there's no real way to vet these people. On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. "Oh, well," she cried, "I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you." "Take me in, oh tender woman. Take me in for heaven's sake. Take me in, oh tender woman," sighed the broken snake. She wrapped him up all cozy in a curvature of silk, and then laid him by the fireside with some honey and some milk. Now she hurried home from work that night.
You know what I'm talking about?
As soon as she arrived.
It's just so funny. It seems like every single day they think they got him this time. Okay. All right, now we got that tweet. All right, that's gonna bring him down. Or we got that word he did at that rally. We finally got him, they finally say. Then they turn on the television, and the next morning, Donald Trump is still standing stronger than ever before and fighting for the American people, and he's going to fight all the way to the White House. You know, I think the key about Donald Trump is he's never forgotten the men and women who built this country. We stand in this historic place with this incredible backdrop. And I got to tell you, my running mate is a man who has boundless confidence in the American people. He grew up just like I did, really on the footstool in front of the American dream. I mean, his grandfather immigrated to this country just like mine did. His father was a self-made man who built a business in Queens, and Donald Trump and my dad built a gas station business down in a small town in southern Indiana. You know, he and I were both raised to believe that to whom much is given, much will be required. So The kid from Queens moved a business all the way to Manhattan Island and built buildings to the skies, and I followed a calling into public service. I like to tell people, other than a whole lot of zeros, Donald Trump and I have an awful lot in common. A lot. I mean, a lot of zeros. The truth is, what we have in common is a belief in the American people, and a belief in the American dream, and a belief in the men and women who built this country and build this country to its day. People who work with their hands, who grow the food, who build our roads and bridges, who tend to our sick, who teach our kids. And Donald Trump will never forget the men and women who stand on the thin blue line of law enforcement to protect our families each and every day. Would you mind on this rainy night, let's just show the members of our law enforcement community in these challenging times how much we appreciate what they do. I promise you, as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States of America, Donald Trump will stand with our law enforcement community as they serve us. We'll make sure they have the resources they need to do their job to keep our families safe. And Donald Trump will restore law and order to every city and every community in this nation once again. You know, the security of the American people is much in our mind on this rainy night, isn't it? We were shocked over the weekend. Shocked over the weekend when terrorist attacks came again to our shores. It's extraordinary to think. Bombs going off in New York and New Jersey, a terrorist attack in a mall in Minnesota. Our law enforcement community moved swiftly. An unarmed police officer, because he had a sidearm with him, took down the terrorist in the mall in Minnesota. And swift law enforcement, there was no. But the truth of the matter is, 7.5 years of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton's brand of leadership has weakened America's place in the world and emboldened our enemies. Now, the White House actually said yesterday through their spokesman that we were involved in a narrative fight, in a narrative battle. You know, theirs is a narrative of denial. The truth of the matter is, we need a president who understands we are in a real fight against terrorists, against radical Islamic terrorism, against the ISIS caliphate. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States, we will take the fight to the enemy. We will destroy ISIS at its source, and we will defeat radical Islamic terrorism wherever it emerges. What was most remarkable the last 2 days to me is that Hillary Clinton actually took to the tarmac yesterday and actually tried to blame Donald Trump's words for the terrorist attacks that came to our shore. It's really incredible. She said that his rhetoric had, quote, been seized on by terrorists and was, quote, giving comfort to our adversaries. Well, Hillary, I got news for you here in Virginia. Strength does not give comfort to the adversaries of the United States of America. Weakness does. And that's going to end the day that Donald Trump becomes the President of the United States of America. Donald Trump and I know America needs to be strong for the world to be safe. And Donald Trump, as President of the United States, will rebuild our military, restore the arsenal of democracy. We will rebuild our alliances. We will work with our partners in the world, and we will hunt down and destroy those who threaten our freedom and threaten our people. But you know, it's not just weakness on the world stage. But Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton are all wet on the economy too. I mean, the truth is, men and women, as we stand here in Virginia, we hear sunny stories all the time coming from the other side about how good things are. But the truth of the matter is, the American people know different. We're in the midst of the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression. We're in the midst of an economy that has the lowest labor participation rate since the 1970s. And today, in this economy, there are nearly 7 million more Americans living in poverty than the day that Barack Obama became president of the United States. Hillary Clinton's solution is very simple. More of the same. More taxes, more regulation, more Obamacare, and more of the war on coal that's been stifling American jobs and the American economy. It really is extraordinary. For our part, I got to tell you, they tell us this economy is the best that we can do. But Donald Trump and I and all of you here on this rainy night know it's nowhere near the best that we can do. It's just the best they can do. And when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States of America, we're going to get this economy moving for all the people of Virginia and all the people of the United States of America. Donald Trump's got a plan. Donald Trump's got a plan, everybody. Very simple. It's time-honored principles that have worked every time they're put into practice. We're going to lower taxes across the board for working families, small businesses, and family farms. We're going to let Americans keep more of what they earn. We're going to end death taxes once and for all. And we're going to lower business taxes so companies here in Virginia can create jobs here in Virginia instead of overseas in competitors. And Donald Trump and I are going to roll back this avalanche of red tape that's stifling growth and jobs here in the Commonwealth. The truth is the matter that on day one of a Trump-Pence administration, he's going to sign a moratorium on any new regulation, and he's going to repeal every single Obama executive order that's stifling jobs and growth in this economy. And the most stifling regulation of all is going to be gone on day one. We're going to repeal Obamacare, lock, stock, and barrel, and bring freedom back to our healthcare economy. And Donald Trump and I are going to do two more things. Number one, when Donald Trump becomes the negotiator in chief, we're going to have a president who holds our trading partners to the deals that they made. We're going to have trade agreements that work for the American worker and the American people first. And lastly, on day one of this administration, we're going to end the war on coal once and for all. We're going to release all the power of the American energy economy with an all-of-the-above energy strategy. You know, when you think of this administration, it seems like there's no aspect of our lives too small for the present administration to supervise. No provision of the Constitution too large for them to ignore. As this election approaches, everyone here in Virginia, the home of James Madison, the author of our Constitution, ought to remember, while we're electing a president for the next 4 years, that president will likely set the course and direction of the Supreme Court of the United States for the next 40 years. And we better think about that. We better think long and hard. I mean, elect Hillary Clinton, and you better get used to more unelected judges using unaccountable power to take unconstitutional actions. So let me just say this. For the sake of the rule of law, for the sake of the sanctity of life, for the sake of our Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, for the sake of preserving all the God-given liberties that are enshrined in our Constitution, let's decide here and now in the great Commonwealth of Virginia that the next president to make appointments to the Supreme Court of the United States will be President Donald Trump. And lastly, men and women, before I close, and give yourselves another round of applause for being out here. I'll tell you what, I'm so impressed. I'm going to pick up the phone with this soggy arm and call the man and tell him how great you all are. This is really amazing. It's just going to bless his heart. Virginians are tough. And you're going to bring Virginia home for Donald Trump on November 8th, aren't you? The last thing I'll tell you is, look, we got to make sure that we have the highest standards of integrity in the highest office in the land. I mean, the avalanche of corruption flowing out of the years of the Clinton Foundation and her years as Secretary of State have just been mind-boggling. I mean, literally, the Clintons recently announced that they would discontinue raising money from foreign governments and foreign donors if she became president of the United States, because then it would be a conflict of interest. Well, if it would be a conflict of interest if she was president of the United States, how was it not a conflict of interest when she was Secretary of State of the United States of America, in charge of all of our diplomatic efforts? I mean, men and women, you know, the American people are tired of pay-to-play politics in Washington, D.C., and it's exactly the kind of politics that's going to end the day that Donald Trump becomes our next president. When he is in the Oval Office, his only special interest will be you, the American people, and he's going to fight for you every single day that he's president of the United States. Well, let me close with just one thing and let you all go find a towel. You know, as we talk about the choice in this election, it's so dramatic. You know, sometimes in my lifetime, elections have been a choice between one brand of leadership that would take us this far up and another brand that would just take us this far up. You know what I'm talking about. But this election, the choice could not be more clear. This is a choice about whether we're going to continue down the hill toward a weaker America at home and abroad, walking farther and farther away from the principles enshrined in our Constitution and the high standards of integrity in high office, or whether we're going to plant our feet and turn around and go back up the hill to greater freedom, a stronger America, and more American prosperity built on the ideals of this nation. That's this choice. It really is. And so my word to you tonight on this soggy evening is, after you get all dried out, go tell somebody. The reason why Karen and I came out here in the rain is you got to go tell somebody. Okay, this election is close here in Virginia and all across this country. And the truth of the matter is, the reason it's close is because even though it's just about a 2-to-1 fight every single day of the week, I mean, most of the media, is doing half of Hillary Clinton's work for her every day. But the American people, the voice of the American people, has always been the deciding factor in this democracy. I mean, just remember this. You pulling aside a neighbor or a friend over a backyard fence at your place of work or worship and telling them what the stakes are in this election matters more than all the front pages in the world, all the television cable shows in the world. And so I want you to go here and tell somebody. Leave here tonight from this historic place and tell somebody that we have got to elect Donald Trump as the next president of the United States, and we can make America great again. And when you do it, tell them one more thing. You know, we live in a a challenging time in the life of this nation. It seems like there's so many things that divide us these days, so many great purposes that don't unite us as they once did. But I want you to know that in Donald Trump and I, if we have the great privilege of serving you, we will always believe that there is more that unites the people of the United States of America than will ever divide us. It's the ideals of this nation. It's our freedom. And it's our faith. And I will tell you that the man I'm running with is a man of boundless faith. Boundless faith in the American people. And boundless faith that we are now and we shall ever draw our strength from the truth throughout our history that we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, ladies and gentlemen of the great Commonwealth of Virginia, let me break it down for you one more time, just in case you're taking notes. We have a choice to make. It's another time for choosing. If you want a president who will protect this nation, rebuild our military, restore the arsenal of democracy, work with our allies, confront and hunt down and destroy those who threaten our people and threaten our freedom. If you want a president who will restore law and order to every city and every community in this nation and stand by our law enforcement with the resources and the support that they need and they deserve every day. If you want a president who will build a wall, make Mexico pay for it, restore our borders, and ensure that the laws of this nation work for the people and citizens of this nation and those who are legally here. If you want a president who will cut taxes, grow our economy, squeeze every nickel out of that bloated federal bureaucracy and repeal Obamacare lock, stock, and barrel. And if you want a president who will upend the status quo in Washington, D.C., and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America, then I say to my neighbors and friends here in Virginia, you have but one choice in this election. And I'm here to tell you, that man is ready. This team is ready. This movement is obviously ready. Let's go make sure that Virginia is ready, and we will elect Donald Trump to be the 45th President of the United States, and together we will make America great again. Thank you very much, and God bless you. It's an honor to be with you tonight.